Mitzrayim. The same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Yasharel camped before the mountain. And Shemaiah went up unto Elohim, and Yah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Yaakov, and tell the children of Yasharel, You have seen what I did unto the Mizraimites, and how I bore you in eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, above all people, for all the earth is mine. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a Kodesh nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yasharel.
Yah promised he would give us a kingdom. We disobeyed and fell into a syndrome.
We are the sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah.
Yah said in the lands of our captivity, when we return, he would give us liberty. Return back to our land of nativity, kingdom of priests for the whole wide world to see. Oh yeah. Here we go now. Here we go now.
We are the sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah. Sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah.
We will reign for 1,000 years with him. Kings and priests having God's law with him. We were paying for the trials and tribulations. That's when the world would pay us our full reparation.
Reparations.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I feel inspired to sing this morning. I got got a little praise song on my heart this morning. This is for the late Ron Canoli. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Kodesh One. Give thanks because he's given us Yahusha, his son. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what our Yah has done for us. Give thanks. I'm gonna pick it up a little bit. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Kodesh One. Give thanks because he's given us Yahusha, his son. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what Yah has done for us. Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks. Thank you, Yah. Thank you, Yah. Thank you, Yah. I just want to thank you, Yah. You've been so good. You've been so good. You've been so good. I just want to thank you, Yah. We praise your name. We praise your name. We praise your name in the highest praise. We praise your name. We praise your name. We praise your name. Is the highest praise. Hallelujah is the highest praise. Hallelujah is the highest praise. We praise you, oh yeah, for the favor of your Son. Hallelujah is the highest praise. We magnify your name. We magnify your name. We magnify your name. In the highest praise. We are standing on cold that ground. Oh, and we know that there are angels and Malachim of God all around. And let us praise Yahuwah now. We are standing in His presence on covenant ground. Thomas Whitfield. I'm encouraged to stay with Yahuwah. Yahuwah. I'm encouraged to stay with Yah. Oh, I'm encouraged to stay with Yahuwah. Yahuwah. I'm encouraged to stay with Yah. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to stay with Yah. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to stay with Yah. 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 I'm courage and to stay with Yah. Oh, thank you. I feel something happening right now. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to stay with Yah. With Yah. I'm gonna stop right there. I can go all day. To stay with Yah. Tomorrow, I'm not gonna do that. Some people, y'all know when I get to singing, well, I get lost. I better get off this keyboard. Yahuwah, Elohim, Most High, in the name that's above all names. It's the name on high that we love to call Yahuwah. Yahuwah. There is healing in the name, deliverance in the name, wholeness in the name of Yahuwah. 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 There's healing, deliverance in His name. No other name than the name of Yahuwah. No other name than the name of Yah. No other name than the name of Yahuwah. Is worthy of honor is worthy of power, is worthy of honor, and all praise, all praise, all praise. Praise the name, praise the name, praise the name of Yahoo. I didn't plan on doing that this morning. I was just gonna play a little chorus and a verse or something. So hallelujah. Let me move my keyboard out of the way. Praise Yah, man. Oof. How can I do this here? I done shifted my whole studio around. Just bear me 1 second. And let's do this. I can't do it. I'll just bear with me. So let me just slide this over here. Okay. Oh, praise Yah. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. There we go. Let's push it to the side for now. And you come back on the camera. Praise Yah. How's everybody doing today? How's your week? Where's my keyboard? Over here? It's over here. Okay. Well, whew, man, I tell you, I can do that all day. Let me see. Let me chime in here. All right. Shabbat Shalom, Coach Sherry. Good to see you, my sister. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And good to see my sister. Pray all is well with you in the household on this blessed Shabbat. Who is this here, brother? King's at it again. Shabbat Shalom. All y'all to keep me in y'all prayers as I've been dealing with some very intense and very painful lower back pains, and it has kept me bedridden since Tuesday. Well, certainly going to say a prayer for you, and we have some prayer warriors that we can. I know they are seeing your comment, so we definitely going to put you on the prayer list. All right, praise Yah. Certainly, I know how that can be. I'm gonna have to text me your number. I'm gonna reach out to you, give you a call, my brother. I think I have your number here. Let me see. Let me double check, make sure. I'm not gonna tell you your number. I'll just tell you the last 4 digits, and if I'm correct, then just kind of shout out, let me know I got it right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the number I have ends with 8885. So if that's your number, just shout. Let me know that I'm gonna reach out to you, my brother. 8885, and just want to make sure you're doing all right there. All right. Let's see. Who else do we have here? We have. Stone. Shabbat Shalom, my brother. Gotta wipe the tears out of my eyes. Good to see you, my brother. Pray all's well with you out there in Vegas. This is Brother Dollars, Brother Dookie Dollars. Shabbat Shalom, brother. Good to see you, my brother. Who's this righteous one? Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you, my brother. Praise Yah for you and your family. Pray all's well with you and the family on this Shabbat. Okay, yes, that he said that's it. Yes, that's it. Okay, good. I'm gonna reach out to you, my brother. And to everybody else that haven't chimed in yet, Shabbat Shalom, brothers, sisters. We're gonna go ahead and get started in the lesson. Pray for you all had a good week, and we're going to deal with the subject of the racial intermixture in Spain and in Portugal, right? So we're dealing with the subject of nature knows no, from the book, I should say, of J.A. Rogers, Nature Knows No Color Line. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open up with prayer real quick. Father, we thank and praise you for this opportunity to share with your people on this live stream. We pray that you would give us the words to say, to edify, to comfort, to encourage those that are listening, tuning in, to give some knowledge and wisdom and comprehension to those that are tuning in today, to learn something about where we come from, to kind of confirm even more that we are those people that you said that will be scattered to the four corners, to make the connections through our various migrations and forced migrations and transportations from various lands into where we are today, to know that we are those people that have returned to the covenant that you've given to our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We give you praise and we honor name, Yahshua Mashiach. We say hallelujah, 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 todayah. Amen. All right. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and begin. I been up since about 3 o'clock this morning. And so I'm going to kind of try to do my best to present to you. Let me take this comment out. What I have here, you see on the back screen, you'll see this is a mirror I put together of some Afro Arabs in Morocco, Spain, Portugal. Okay, all right. So many people don't know that, but there's some people that's still up there that still look like that. So we're going to cover that today. So we're going to open up with the scriptures first. Let's go to. We're going to first identify who Spain is, right? In the biblical text, right? So who is Spain? Because in order for us to know that our people went into Spain, a lot of people don't know how to identify Spain, because if you go and look in the King James Bible, you won't see the word Spain in there, right? So, but there is a specific son, and we're going to show that to you. There is a specific son in the scriptures that connects us to Spain, right? So let's go to Genesis chapter 10, Table of Nations, right? And we're going to make the connection. The sons of Japheth, right? So let's go over. Let me just switch up real quick. Let's go to starting at verse 4. It says the sons of Yavan, right? So Yavan is the father of these sons, Elisha, Tarshish, right? So this is the one you want to underline right here, Tarshish, right? Tarshish. Tarshish is the father and the founder of, or the paternal progenitor of the Portugal and Spanish people. Okay? So Tarshish, let's go back in. Tarshish, by way of definition, is defined as, if you see my Strong's numbers here, you'll see it's Tarshish, probably the same as 8658 as a reign of the stone, or the reverse. Tarshish, a place on the Mediterranean, hence the epithet of a merchant vessel, as if for or from that port. Also the name of a Persian and of an Israelite. Okay. So that's what I want you to take away. It is that this Tarshish was a son of Yavan, right? Now, when we go and we go further into the scriptures, we're going to see Tarshish plays a major role with the nation of Israel. So we go to we're going to show you where King Shalomo, right? The Most High called us as a people to be a kingdom of priests. I was talking to someone this morning, and we had us a wonderful time talking about that priesthood, right? That's who we have been called to be, right? We have been called to be the priesthood, right? Many people haven't locked in on that and know what that means, but we were called by the Most High as a nation to be priests to the nations, not through the line of Aharon. And whenever I find somebody that says that, and when I say I'm a priest, and they say, "Can you prove you from the tribe of Aharon?" I already know they don't know the precept. I already know that they don't know the precept. But when you know the precept of the priesthood, then you automatically know it has nothing to do with the sons of Aharon. But that's another lesson. All right. Now, what I want to do, I want to go ahead and we're gonna go to Second Chronicles chapter 9, right? So let's go to Second Chronicles chapter 9. Let me do this here and move my notes over here so I won't be getting distracted. Okay. And let's see, hold on a second. I'm working with 3 screens here, y'all. So okay, here we go. So we're gonna go to second. Hold on a second. We're gonna go to Second Chronicles 9 and 20. Second Chronicles 9 and 20. So 9 and 20. Let's see. Let's start right here, verse 13. I don't want to. You know what? Let's just chop it up. I don't want to read all the way down because let's see. Okay, let's just read the first. Let's read the first verse here, and then we'll go to the verse I want, which is verse 20 and 21. Okay. So verse 13 starts out by saying, "Now the weight or gold that came," I'm not sawing my voice out now. The weight of gold that came to Solomon Shalomo in 1 year was 636 talents of gold. Now watch this now. So it says, "Besides that which chapmen and the merchants brought, and all the kings of Arabia and governors of the country brought gold and silver to Shalomo," right? So King Shalomo made 200 targets, beaten gold, 600 shekels of beaten gold, and went to one target, right? So now I'm going to skip past all of that because this lesson is not about the temple that Solomon built and the house that he built, but that's another lesson. We'll talk about that another time. So let's go down to here. It says, I want to start at verse, verse 20. So, "And all the drinking vessels of King Shalomo were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were silver. It was not anything accounted for in the days of Shalomo," right? "For the king's ships, underline that, the king's ships." Shalomo had ships, okay? "The king's ships went to where? Tarshish," right? The king's ships went to Tarshish, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, King Solomon had ships that went to Tarshish, which is Spain, right? Which is today's modern Spain, or Spain and territory of Spain, right? Which would also include Portugal, right? So what I want to do is, let me see if I can show you real quick on this map. Let me just slide this map over here real quick. And I wanted to bring this into the equation here. So if you would look at the screen here at the map. So on this map, you will see here, this is, you see Spain here, Spain, Portugal, all of this, Gibraltar, right? This all is Tarshish, right? So King Shalomo went all the way, had ships that went all the way from Jerusalem. That's Damascus. Jerusalem. Where's Jerusalem at? Yeah, I guess you got to zoom in. Here's Jerusalem right here. Right here. Okay. So he had ships that went all the way from Jerusalem across the Mediterranean, the north coast, bypassing Italy and all that, and to Tarshish, right? Which is this land mass here, right? I'm looking at the comment here. Okay. Yeah, Brother Dollars, you said you sent me a video. I think I saw that video. Yeah. On YouTube. Right, exactly. It was a sister on there. I think. Yeah. Okay. If you like, send me the link again. Maybe I could play it. So here, we're showing you that King Shlomo had ships that went all the way from Jerusalem to Tarshish. Right. Now, I want to go back in here to the scriptures. So, what did he do? So, king's ships went to Tarshish, right, with servants of Hiram, right, or Huram, right. And now, anybody know anything about Freemasons? Know this name is a prominent name in the Freemason world. The Masons, right? Okay. Hiram every 3 years once came ships of Tarshish. So the servants of Hiram every 3 years once came the ships of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. This little side note now. On my Africa is Israel people, and you know the talking point. Well, Africa. How did Africa? All those animals, apes and elephants and so forth, they all indigenous to Africa, not Israel. They brought them there. They brought them there, as we see here in this particular passage. It's talking about the apes and peacocks, right? So it says that he brought in apes. He brought in gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. And his word for apes is a monkey. So King Shlomo brought apes and monkeys and peacocks, right? What's a peacock? The word peacock says important creature, probably a peacock. Okay, that don't tell us much, right? But so he says that he brought them. The ships came from Tarshish, right? So now we're showing you, making a connection, because before we read to you about Portugal and Spain, it makes no sense if we don't connect the dots to connect Portugal and Spain to the biblical text, because people say, well, those are not our people, they're Spanish people. Before, I'm gonna read some stuff from J. Rogers' book that's gonna make some sense in a minute, right? But we're gonna cover it. So just hold tight, right? Hold on to your seat. Hold tight. All right. So Brother Dollar said, I sent you a video sometime back with an Afro-Palestinian, and her story was that the Palestinians call her a slave and treat her like a dog. Right? Yeah, I think I seen that one, my brother. Who is this here? Yah's Lion says, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you. Yah's Lion, good to see you. Praise Yah. Hallelujah. Pray all is well with you and your household on this Shabbat. All right, now, let's go back in here. So I want to go to, so it was, my point I want to make, guys, is I want to say this first, right? So Shlomo, the same vessels that he had that would, in today's terminology, be considered to be Spanish ships, right? Before they called Spanish ships. They were called the ships of Tarshish. So the ships of Tarshish, the very same ships that King Shalomo used to bring wealth into Israel, the land of promise, the covenant land, were the same ships that took his own people into captivity. Watch this now. So we're going to go to Ezekiel 27, right? Ezekiel 27. And we're going to show you how that the prophecy, even though we don't have a land called Spain or Portugal in the biblical time, but the prophecy that said that the Most High would send the Israelite people into captivity in ships at that particular time, before we was a nation, before there was a King Salomo, like go back to Egypt in ships. What's a ship? They had boats in Egypt in Kemet, right? But ships to carry whole boatloads of people, that didn't sound good to the Israelites that was in the desert, that you're going to go back to Egypt. Let's read it real quick before I go to Ezekiel. Let's read it real quick. So go to Deuteronomy 30, since I'm there. Deuteronomy 28, right? Last verse, right? He says, Yah shall bring you into Egypt. Egypt is in Africa. It's in the land of Ham, right? And we're gonna listen. We're gonna connect dots. We're gonna connect the dots in a minute. But he said, Yah will bring you into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto you, right? So he said, I'm going to bring you to Egypt again in ships, right? And then from there, from Egypt, from there, you're going to be sold unto your enemies, right? So from Egypt, which is in Africa, he said, you're going to be sold to your enemies, right? Now, why is that important? Because we're in Black history and we're trying to prove a point to all of our viewers that prophecy, all of the 5 slave trades that took the same people into captivity wasn't a coincidence. Okay? So, now let's go to Ezekiel. We're going to show you in the book of Ezekiel where this was spoken of, right? Of Tarshish. Okay, so let's go to Ezekiel 27, right? Ezekiel 27. And we're going to start at verse 12. Okay? It says, okay. It says Tarshish. There it is again. Tarshish. One more time. Tarshish. Tarshish was thy merchant. Okay? Tarshish was thy merchant. Okay? Now, somebody might ask the question, who was Tarshish the merchant to, right? So if we go up, he says, the word of Yah came to me again, saying, now thou son of man, take up a lamentation for Tyrus. Right? For who? Tyrus. Right? And say to Tyrus, thou that art situated at the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people. Right? So this Tyrus or Tyre, right? Now let's do this real quick, right? We see Tyre. Where do we see Tyre at? Okay. Y'all know the famous one. This is Joel 3. He says what? Yes. What have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon and all the coast of Palestine? Right? Will you render me recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant thing. And the children, watch this now, of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto Yavan. It says Grecians there, but wait a minute, brother.
Wait a minute.
The word is Yavani, right? Or Yavan. So Yavan, as we covered in the previous lesson, is Yavanite, Yavan. And we go back to Genesis 10, we just showed you that all these sons are sons of Yavan. Verse 4, Yavan, the sons of Yavan are Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim, right? So Tyre is connected to Kittim, the land of Kittim, right? Kittim, when you speak of Kittim, right, or Chittim, you also include the Greeks and Romans, right? Because they fit in that clan, right? So within that clan, you got the Greeks, Romans, and the Spanish, Tarshish, the three primary players of the initial migrating or moving of the people of the book out of the land of promise into the land of captivity, right? So now, but prior to the captivity, they were going to those lands at free will, right? As being a great, the richest nation on the planet, with the greatest king, so to speak, right? Am I right?
Am I right?
Okay, so let's go back to Ezekiel 37. All right. So he says, Tarshish was thy merchant by reason of the multitude of all kind of riches. So now we're going to connect the dots here right now. So Tarshish was the merchant of Tyre. So Tarshish was the one that had the ships called the ships of Chittim. Think about it for a second. The ships of Chittim, right? Now, Tarshish was thy merchant by reason of multitude of all his riches with silver, iron, tin, and lead. He said they traded in thy fairs. Right? Now watch this now. Yavan, right? Now he brings in Tubal and Meshach in the picture. Yavan with Tubal and Meshach, right? He says they were thy merchants. So Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, they all traded. What did they trade? The persons of men. They traded the persons of men. Right? Look at that. The persons of men. Right? And vessels of brass in thy market. So Chittim, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach are in prophecy. We're not going to go there now because that's another lesson. We go and show you Tubal, Meshach, and all of them, and Gomer and all his bands all a part of that because Gomer had his hand in it too. He had his hand in taking the children of Israel into captivity. That's what the book say, right? They don't want you to read the Old Testament because the Old Testament makes a connection between you so-called Negroes in America and your history, right? So when we look at this, we see Yavon, Tarshish was the merchant, right? The ships of Chittim, right, was the vehicle that they used because the Chittimite ships after the fall of the Israelite nation, right? The power that came that kind of led the captives into captivity was the sons of Yavon. And through those ships. Now watch this now. So he said that they had the vessels, right? Persons of men, vessels of brass in thy marketplace, right? Then he goes on to say, they of the house of Togarmah traded in thy fairs with horses and horsemen and mules. You got Dedan in that, right? Dedan were merchants, right? Syria was merchants, right? Yehuda and the land of Israel, they were merchants, right? They traded in the market with them first, right? Now, so let's go to Revelation, and we're going to show you what Revelation had to say about that same passage, right? So we're going to go to Revelation 18, all right? Go with me to Revelation 18, okay? And we're going to read one verse there, verse 13. So go to Revelation 18 and 13, right? Revelation 18 and 13, all right? He says, and cinnamon, let me back up to verse 11. It says, let's go to verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, right? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls, right? And fine linen and pure and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and manner vessels and ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and brass and iron and marble. I want verse 13, right? Okay, so here we are. And cinnamon and odors, talking about your incense, and ointments, talking about your oils, and frankincense and wine and all and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Wait a minute. So we see Revelation took it to a whole nother level where we saw it said the persons of men, right? Revelation zoomed in and said slaves. So all the nations, the sons of Yavon who started the ball rolling, was responsible for the initial enslavement of the people of the book. Now, with that said, let's go to Numbers 24 because I mentioned Chittim, right? We're gonna bring it into play. Once we get into the book, it's gonna open up like a can of worms. You're gonna be like, wow, man. Okay. So Numbers 24:24, go to Numbers 24:24, right? These are things you're not gonna learn in theological seminary because they're not gonna teach you this. This is connecting the dots. And when you ask a question, who are these people that fulfill his prophecies? Then you're gonna hear crickets, right? So Numbers 24:24 says what? It says, and ships shall come from the coast of who? Chittim. Wait a minute, brothers and sisters. This is key. Because when we connect in history, right, with the scriptures, and now we gotta identify, we gotta pull out that magnifying glass, and we gotta say, who are the people that fit that prophecy? Huh? Because see, we don't look, we try to spiritualize. We've been taught to spiritualize the biblical text and not deal with it from a literal dynamic so we can see who are those people that he's talking about, right? So this text tells us what? It tells us that ships are going to come from the coast of Chittim or Kittim. So when we look at this in the Strongs, we see that this Chittim is the same word Kittim, right? Which it says is a patrial from an unused name denoting Cyprus, only in plural, a Kittite or a Cyprite. Hence, an islander, and it says here in general, that is the Greeks or Romans, on the shores opposite of Palestine. How about that? Can you get any more clear than that? So we talk about the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. We talk about ships of Tarshish, brothers and sisters. We talk about the good ship Jesus, Jesus a Lumbuk, Lobuk, or Lumbuck, or Lobuk, or Larbuck, something like that. Jesus of Lubbuck, or Lobuk. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The good ship called Jesus. Ships of Tarshish, right? Now, so let's look and see what the ships of Tarshish was proposed to do according to the scriptural text, right? Now, so it says, the ships shall come from the coast of Chittim and shall afflict Asher and shall afflict Eber, and he also shall perish forever. So those ships are going to come from the Romans and Greeks, right? The sons of Yavon, Tarshish included, and shall afflict Asher, who is the Assyrian, right? They're cousins to the Israelites, look like the Israelites. Abraham came from the land of the Asherites. And it said, and shall afflict Eber, right? Eber is where we get the word Hebrew, English transliteration. Some would say Aber, some say Ibri, right? But the same person, that would include not only Hebrew Israelites, but anybody that is of the Hebrews from the line specifically of Abraham. So now what's missing is that in Sunday school don't teach you that. But in Africa, even some Hebrew camps teach all Africans in Africa were Ham. Not true. Not true, not even in the least bit. Even in Kemet or Egypt, Mizraim, Ishmael lived there and his children. They're not Hamites. They're Hebrews on the father's side. They Hamite on the mother's side who was a Mizraimite. So in North Africa, everybody in North Africa is not Hamite. So let's stop that foolish, false teaching. Everybody in North Africa is not a Hamite. Everybody in Africa is not a Hamite. It irks me when I hear teachers that I want to believe are smart on their channel, they say Hamites are in Africa. Some of them are. A large portion of them, if we go and read from the, what's the book called? Africa being a description, right? An accurate description, right? Y'all know the rest of that. Baldereg, you know the rest of that. That real long, the book has a real long title. And then in the book, he says, some of them, there are many people here in Africa, some of them claim they are Abraham's seed. If I Every time I pull it out and show it to you, y'all done seen it before. So everybody in Africa was not Ham. A lot of them were Hebrews in Africa, in Egypt, in the Sudan, right? In North Africa. That a lot of them went down in sub-Saharan, but they were Hebrews. But the Pastor Pork Chop, he ain't gonna tell you because he don't know. He think we all Africans when there is a connection between the Africans and the Hebrews, but primarily the Africans, the Hebrews, right? The people in Africa, primarily a large portion of them are Hebrews. They are descendants of Abraham through his wife Keturah, right? And that seed. Then you have others that are Abraham's children through Ishmael and Hagar, through Hagar, Ishmael, right? Okay. So, Roy Josiah said something I want to highlight it here. He says, Joel 3 proves the white man's not Edom because Confederacy couldn't remove us far from our border. That's it. That's it. Now, so we see Chittim afflicting Asher and Eber, right? Asher, many, I'm going to help you out here. Many of the Asherites were Hebrews, were Shemitic, descendants of Shem. Yeah. Matter of fact, for clarity, let's do it. Okay? Let's go to Table Nations. Let's go back to Genesis 10 to prove a point because, see, we deal in fact. I don't deal in speculation. When I say something, if I can't prove it, I don't say it. So we go to Genesis 10, right? And I want to go to where he talks about the sons of Shem. Unto Shem, also the father of the children of Eber. See, that's very key right there, right? Unto Shem, also the father of the children of Eber, right? The brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem are Elam, right? And Asher, right? So the children of Shem were Elam. So Elamites were African Edenic looking people. Y'all know the book. This is the 12 Lost Tribes of Israel myth, right? He talks about that in the book, about how that he said that Abraham was told to get from his people. Okay? It began in Babel. It's another book that talks about that. All these books are connecting the dots. They're letting you know that Abraham, how could the nation of Israel look like the nation, the whole nation? That's not to say that there's not some that might not have a Eurocentric look, but not the whole nation of people. Good gracious. You mean the whole nation of Israel looks like the Caucasus, people from the Caucasus Mountains? No. Somebody put a Mickey in your drink, right? So now, go back in here. So Shem begot Elam, Asher. That's who I wanted to go to. Asher, right? That's Asher and Eber. So Eber, now check this out. Here's the thing. This is for all my people that want to say anti-Semitic, right? Okay. Anybody that fits in this line is Semitic. We say Shemitic, but if you want to say Sem, I won't play a semantic game with you. Okay? If they Sem, then they are from Noah's son, Shem. Okay? So now, all these people that came from Noah's son would be Shem, right? So you got Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphaxad. Shem had Elam, Asher, the Syrian, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram. So the Aram people are Shemites, right? The Aram begot Uz, Hul, Gether, and Maash, or Mash, if you like. Arphaxad begot Salah. Salah begat Eber, right? So Arphaxad is the great grandfather of Eber. And Eber had what? Eber had Peleg, right? And Joktan. Joktan begot Almadad, Shalef, and Hazarmarveth, and Yerah, right? So Eber, now check out, go to Eber, right? Let's see, Eber had two sons, so his sons were Peleg and Joktan. So all these children of Joktan, right? Almadad, Shalef, Hazarmaveth, Yerah, Hadaram, Uzzah, all these people are Hebrews. So you have Hebrews, right, that weren't from Abraham's seed, huh? But they were still Hebrews from Eber, their father, from Joktan and Peleg. So when you follow the story, you see in Genesis, if you go to chapter 11, right, and you go to verse 10, it says, these are generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old. He begat Arphaxad, right? Okay. And Arphaxad lived and begat sons and daughters, right? You don't hear much talk about sons and daughters, but the book of Jubilees talks about the daughters. But that's another lesson. Arphaxad lived 530 years, begat Salah. So you got Arphaxad, right? Salah lived, and Salah begat Eber, right? So from this point forward, you got Eber and Eber's sons, right? All of the sons of Eber begat Peleg and Joktan, right? Peleg begat Ru begat who? Ru begat Sarug begat who? Sarug begat Nahor. Nahor begat sons and daughters, and Nahor begat who? Nahor lived and he begat Terah. And 119 years and begat son, and Terah lived and begat Abram. Right? So it's more than a notion. So we got people that want to say anti-Semite. Next time somebody use that, ask them, what is a Semite? Watch them dance. Take them to school. Pull out the book and say, all these people that come from Shem are Semites. Where are them people at? Semite does not just include the 12 tribes of Israel. It includes everybody else that come from the line of Shem. Right? That's correct. Brother Dollar said that's right. He said the Hebrews went to Nineveh, right? That's right. They were Asherites. That's right. You ain't lied about that. It said Tucker said what? Tucker spoke to some campers and they went on to tell him he was an Edomite and he was hated by. See, right, yeah, right. I hear you, my brother. Okay, now, so point I'm making is that we're showing you, making the connection of Numbers 24:24. It said that the ships shall come from the coast of Chittim, right? And the ships are going to afflict Asher and Eber, right? All the sons of Eber, right? And he also shall perish forever, right? So that's Numbers. Now, let's go to Isaiah 23:12. Isaiah 23, so I'm moving a little faster now. Isaiah 23:12, okay? I feel my help coming, so let me move a little faster. Isaiah 23:12, all right? It says, he said, thou shalt no more rejoice, O thou oppressed, virgin daughter of Zidon. Arise, pass over to where? To Chittim. There also shalt thou have what? No rest. That's the prophet. pass over to Chittim, right? There also shalt thou have no rest, right? Now, let's go a little further. Let's go to Daniel 11, right? Now, when I first came to the knowledge that I was an Israelite, I went to Israelite camp and I asked this question, and you know what? They couldn't answer this. They couldn't answer this. They didn't know. So now, anybody that might have a question about Chittim, now you can point them to this video. So y'all like this video, subscribe and share, as they say. We need to get some likes up on these videos, right? Okay. So they can get out there. I'm not worried about the money. I'm worried about people being able to get some truth, right? Okay. We're called to teach truth, not to teach racial prejudice and hatred, right? Even if Tucker Carlson is an Edomite, he can be saved if he embraced the covenant. But we so stuck on stupid. We got a whole camp doctrine full of hatred. But anyway, I done went off on a tangent. Let's go back in. Okay. So he said, okay, you shall pass over to Chittim there. Also, thou shalt have no rest. Now, let me ask a question. Is there anywhere else where we see something similar to that, where he said, in this he says, you shall have no rest? But is there a place anywhere? I'm going to give you a hint. In Deuteronomy 28, is there a place where it's something similar to not having rest is in there? Anybody? Or I'll jump up at one time. Is there a passage in Deuteronomy that's similar to that says, in these lands thou shalt have no rest? It says no rest here, but something similar to that in Deuteronomy 28. All right. Shalom, my brother Digital. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Smash the likes. All right. That's my brother there, boy. He come in. Okay. Come in making noise. All right. Let's see. So anybody have a clue before I post that verse? Does anybody know anywhere in Deuteronomy 28? Right? Does anybody know anything that reads similar to that in Deuteronomy 28? Before I give you the answer, I'm gonna ask one more time. Anybody know any scripture that reads similar to that, where you shall have no rest? Right? Okay. Since y'all not answering, I'm gonna give it to you. I know Moray Josiah knows, so I'm not even coming at him. Okay. So let's look at, this is verse 65. Right? Deuteronomy 28:65. He says, and among these nations thou shalt find no ease. Right? That's the word raga. To toss violently and suddenly. Right? And it's translated rest. So raga. Right? You will have no ease or no rest. So I see righteous one got it. He must be delayed, but righteous one got it. Righteous one got it. Give him a clap. See, the thing of it is, when you know how to rightly divide the book, and when the haters come and say, "Oh, y'all ain't no Israelites," say you have time to sit down and listen to me, because I can prove it to you through the prophecy. We don't even have to deal with history. I can show you what the prophecies say. We can connect the dots, because the Most High don't lie. If he said it's going to happen through the mouth of the prophets, We gotta find the people who that happened to be able to prove who these people are. Because if the Most High said this is going to happen to a specific people in a specific way, then doggone it, we better find some people on the planet that happened to that we can say this is them. When you tell me other people are the people and they don't have none of this in their history, then you lying through your teeth. Am I right?
Am I right?
So you've been lied, you've been had, right? You've been what?
You've been had.
That's all I want. You've been had. You've been lied to. They told you they don't fit none of these prophecies of the book, right? They got ease everywhere they go. They got ease. They got rest, right? Now, you own the banks, control y'all music, what y'all listen to. All right, controlling the social media, copyright claims, violation of community guidelines. I get it all the time. Okay, so that was Deuteronomy 28:65, which connects with what we just read in Isaiah 23, right? Isaiah 23 and what was it? And 12, right? So let's read it again as we go further. Okay. So he said that you're going to pass over into Chittim, and there also you shall have no what? No nuach. Now use the word nuach, no breath. Because ak means breath. No breath. Nuach. Settle down, says, and to stay, let the fall place let alone, right? Withdraw, give comfort, ease, right? Rest, right? There you go. So when you find the people that cross over into a land and they didn't have no ease, I learned from Moray Josiah years ago, right? Yeah, that's what they say. He said they spiritualized it, right? That's right. Vocab Malones. I'm gonna leave him alone, man. That vocab alone. Somebody call vocab. Tell vocab I'm talking about him. All right. So he said they shall have no ease when they go into Chittim, right? Now, let's go to Daniel 11. I said Daniel 11. This is the one I mentioned. Okay. Go to any Hebrew camp and if they ask you, you got a question, brother? Yeah. Could you elaborate on this passage here? If they can't elaborate on that passage, send them to this video so they can learn, right?
You're going to learn today.
All right, so go to Daniel 11, right? Daniel 11, right? And we're going to go to verse 30, right? Okay, he says what? Let's start at verse 29. He says, at the time appointed, he shall return and come towards the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships, right, of Chittim, for the ships of Chittim, right, there it is, Kitti, the Kittite, the sons of Yavon, shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the Kodesh covenant. And so he shall do, he shall even return and have intelligence with them that do what? Forsake the covenant. Look, you in the book. So you so-called Negroes, stiff-necked, rebellious Hebrews that don't know you Hebrew Israelite, don't think you are, we not no black Hebrew Israelite cult. What's that talking about? The persecution of the police brutality in the streets, he said that this person is going to do what? I lost my place. He shall have indignation against those. What verse was that? Verse 30. He shall have intelligence with them. Right? What's his word intelligence? I'm curious to know. Understanding to separate mentally or to distinguish. That right there is heavy. You could go a whole lesson with this right here, brothers and sisters. He shall have intelligence with them that forsake the Kodesh covenant. Wow. That's why your right wing, left wing don't mean nothing. I watched the funeral of Jesse Jackson yesterday. They had nobody in there speaking no truth to the people. That, oh, no, man, I would love to have had 5 minutes to speak. He said, upon all these nations you shall have no ease. It hasn't dawned on our people that we are those people that can't find no doggone ease through their intelligence, right? They are oppressing the people of the covenant, the people that broke the covenant. Oppression. And you think their solution is getting somebody in the White House, get somebody in the legislation, in the judicial, presidential, and that's not, I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote. You'll never hear me say that. But what I'm saying is your answer is not coming from that. 2 Chronicles 7:40 says, my people called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from the wicked ways, right? Then I will hear from heaven. He told Shlomo, he said, Shlomo said that when we are in the lands of our captors and we look towards this land and pray, that the Most High would do what? Return our captivity. Why the preachers don't tell you that? Right? They got you. Just call on Jesus, brother. You call on Jesus, you getting in the line. Welfare line, call on Jesus. Jesus can work it out. Not knowing that your future depends on your choices. Okay? Now, so that's the ships of Chittim, right? So the ships of Chittim, right? I'm gonna give you the answer. The ships of Chittim are the same ships called the ships of Tarshish that first was bringing in the treasures of the world to Israel, and they took the treasures of Israel out and put it in their lands. And they took all the precious things of Israel back to their lands. That's the ships of Chittim. Right? Now, as we go further, before I get to, I'm going to redeem you. Before I redeem you, we're going to show you what J.A. Rogers had to say about the lands. So let's go to the book, right? And I'm going to have Gemini going to help me out today, boy. Gemini going to help me out today, boy. Okay, let's blow this up here. Okay. Are y'all ready? So the racial intermixture in Spain and Portugal, chapter 5. He says, while white Vandals were pouring into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries. Let me back to, somebody missed that. Let me back it up. While white vandals, one more time, while white vandals were pouring into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries, right? So now, when is the 4th century, right? That's 301 AD, right? Am I right?
Am I right?
So the 5th century would be what? 401 AD. So 4th century is 301 AD, started at 301 AD, and the 5th century started at 401 AD, right? During that time, he says that the Vandals, right? The Vandals were pouring into the land. So now what I got to show you, right? I got to show you, right, who the Vandals are. So I'm going to give you a link. You can click this link. You can go to this page here. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen, right? Okay. Let's click that link there. We're going to go to this book. And we're going to show you who the Vandals are, right? Okay. So hold on to that link there. I want to go to. I don't think I can do that. Oh yes, I can. Okay. All right. Hold on to that link. I want to go to another link first. Okay. So let's go to this one. This is Google Books. This is actually an older book. So let's go with the older first, and we're gonna come to the newer. Okay. So click on this link here, and we're gonna go to this link, and we're gonna show you who the Vandals are. Right. Okay. So we go to the Vandals, right, and we're gonna show you, okay, how it's defined. So if you look here, it says Vandals. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Let's do it again. Vandals are reckoned by Tacitus, who was a historian. Y'all heard Tacitus, right? Among the Germans are concerned in the Marcoman War with M. Antonius. It says their wars with Valerian, with Probus, have the same origin and language with the Goths, where they then inhabited, submitted to Constantine. Y'all see that? They inhabited and submitted to Constantine. Who was Constantine? Chitamite, emperor of Rome. It said invade Gaul, break into Spain. Their wars there with Suevi and Romans when they embrace the Christian religion. It says they take and let me go to the next link because that's the first part of it. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. So this is the other page. I don't know. You can't go to the second page because I saved it as a image so we can read it. Okay. But go to this one here. This is a continuation of that page, right? Okay. So he says on this continuation, it says it ends with his palace. It says Christian religion take his palace, right? And Carthagena go into Africa, their progress there, and I can't see what that says. Gensere are Aryans. Okay, state of Vandal Empire after the death of Generics. So The second link, the first one I gave you was this here. It says, let's see, let's start. Let me see where I want to start. It's going too far back. It's too much stuff. Let's see if I can reduce it. Where did I see Vandals at? Okay, let's start right here. It says the Vandals who with the Alani had taken their seat in the south of Spain. There it is right there. The Vandals who with the Alani had taken their seat in the south of Spain passed thence in the year of 420 under their king Gaiseric or Genseric upon the invitation of the discontented Roman governor Bonifacius over into Africa and conquering there a whole of the northern coast, founded for a century a flourishing kingdom, the chief city of which was Carthage. What a migration from the very shores of the Baltic, where these tribes first appear in history, even to the borders of the African deserts. A Gaysenrich, one of the great men of his age, but of a savage disposition, ruled for 50 years from 428 to 477. After him, the kingdom of the Vandals fell in the luxuriant climate of the country produced by internal disturbances and by the innervation of this otherwise powerful tribe. Okay, the Emperor Constantinople Justin took advantage of their reduced state and in the year of 553 sent his general Belisarius to Africa with an army who overcame them in 8 months. Their last king, Gelmer, was led by him in chains on his triumph entry into Constantinople. Okay. Oh, that's a lot there, brothers and sisters. That right there got my head spinning. You already know when my head's spinning, it's deep. Okay. All right. And so when you look at now, if we connect those 10 Germanic tribes fits in the map, right? In Daniel's prophecy, King Nebuchadnezzar's vision of the image, and then you got the two legs split, and then you had the 10 toes, right? The 10 toes represent the Germanic tribes, which is Vandals is one of them, right? Right. The Most High calls them the terrible of the nations, or people that are not a people. Okay. Matter of fact, I thought I saw a video one time years ago where they called them the terribles of the nations. I said, "Wow, they in the book." You know, the people that oppress us, the Most High call them the terribles of the nations. You got to be terrible to handle people the way they've handled us. Okay, and still handle today, right? Okay, so where was that? Did I close my thing by accident? Okay, we're good. All right, so let's go back into the book. Okay, I wanted to share that. Okay, now, so J.A. Rogers says they were white vandals. So somebody look. Somebody called Bishop Nathaniel. So, see, look, don't quote J.A. Rogers if you're not going to quote him correctly. Because this Esau is a white man, J.A. Rogers throws it in the trash can. He said white vandals poured into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries. And they're still there. Some of them. Okay? Now, I like Bishop Nathaniel. That's my guy. But that doctrine is of the devil. Y'all ain't in that doctrine at all. Not even the least bit. Okay, now. So he said white vandals poured into Africa in the 4th, 5th centuries. Africa continued to arrive in southern Europe chiefly as slaves, right? So now, here's the kicker. We're tying this to the scriptures because he says that Africans arrived in hold on a second. Africans or the Hebrews, because the point I read all that to show you that in Africa was Hebrews, not Hamites. Hebrews was in Africa, right? So they poured into Africa, right? And they took the Hebrews, right? It says, uh, around that time. So now, when you ask the question, right? Here's where Google gonna come into play, right? Google Gemini. So notice what I want to pull out first before I pull out my Google. He said Africans continue to arrive in Southern Europe, chiefly as slaves, right? So now, to connect the prophetic book with history, we want to define what is Southern Europe. Thank you, Maura Josiah. He said, according to Torah, you should not associate with a man if he treats his beasts wrong. So how much better should you treat a man? Ain't that true, my brother? Ain't that the truth, man? I'm gonna give you a clap on that. Or Josiah said, wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathens, and they shall possess their houses. How about that? I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their Kodesh places shall be defiled. Boom! He said Jonah didn't care what they were. He knew the next well would be his last. He wouldn't have preached to a tree stump. You're right about that, Roy. All right. So the question at hand is if J.A. Rogers is saying that white vandals, not Edomites, white vandals came pouring into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries. Where they poured Africa from? Okay? Where was Esau at? If they Esau, where were they at prior to then? Where are they pouring from? Israel? Wait a minute. J. Rogers said white vandals poured into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries. Poured in from where? I thought Esau was in the land. So where did these white vandals pour in from? Brother?
What you bringing to the table, brother?
Huh? I'm waiting to hear an answer, Bishop Nathaniel. Right. Light. Good to see you, my brother. Shalom. Good to see you, my brother. Look, check it out. Another bump in the road to the Esau, the so-called white man doctrine. J. Rogers said white vandals poured into Africa in the 4th and 5th centuries. So my question is, where are they pouring from? Right? I can go to Google Gemini and Google Gemini tell me where they came from. As a matter of fact, he did tell me where they came from, right? But, so now, the next question at hand was, he said that Africans who were Hebrews, that's why we went to those scriptures to show you that it was Hebrews in North Africa, primarily Hebrews, not Hamites. So they went into Africa and took Shemite, Hebrews, Hebrewites into captivity, right? So when I asked Google Gemini, right, what constitutes of Southern Europe? And here's what he said, right? I said, what constitutes Southern Europe? He says, Southern Europe is a region defined more by its shared history, Mediterranean climate, and old world charm than by a single rigid border. While the definition can shift depending on whether you are looking at geography, politics, or culture, here's how it is generally broken down. The core geographic definition. Geographically, Southern Europe consists of countries located on the three large peninsulas, stretching into Mediterranean Sea, Iberian, Italian, and Balkan peninsulas. Okay? He goes on to show you a map. We're going to pass through that because that's going to go over somebody's head. All right? I'll leave that for Dante Force. He's deep like that. He can break it down. Okay. The major players. Italy, the entire boot and its islands, Sicily and Sardinia, right? So Jay Rogers said that the Israelites was in Southern Europe primarily as slaves. That's what Jay Rogers said, right? So they went to Italy, Spain, and Portugal, right? Occupying the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal, which is we're talking about, and Greece. Southern tip of the Balkans and its vast networks of islands. So here's a dumb question, right? For my Esau is a white man doctrine. Where are the y'all know the question I'm going to ask? Where are the Hebrews in the 4th and 5th century that went in as slaves to Greece, to southern Italy, to southern Europe, to all these places? Where are they? Answer me if thou can tell. Because you're so deep, you're so engulfed in this Esau, the white man foolishness. But you can't answer a simple question. Where did these Hebrews go at that went into these Greek islands? Are they still there? Or did he just get lost? Are they the lost tribes of Israel? Did they all go to the Western Hemisphere? Do you see how foolish it sounds? When you look at the 12 tribes chart, every doggone Israelite is in one landmass in captivity. The book says in Luke 21:24, Messiah said, you shall be led captive into all nations. Not the United States, not North America, right? So when you look at that, the Israelites, he said, will be led captive into all nations. How can they all be in one little place on the planet? North America, South America, and the islands. Panama. That's the dumbest, most unintelligent doctrine that anybody can ever teach, right? Jay Rogers throws that in the trash can, right? Where it belongs. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids, right? All right. So he goes on to say what? That he says Italy, Spain, Greece, Portugal, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Albania, North Macedonia, Slovenia, Vatican City. Oh, some Israelites went to Vatican City. Where are they at today? Are they still there? Where are they going, right? Where'd they go? Disappeared. San Marino, Andorra, Monaco, Malta, Gibraltar. That's in UK. Now, look at this map here, right? Where's my map? Where's my map? Oh, my goodness. Did I close my map down? Hold on a second, brother. Sisters. I put a nice little map together because I wanted to show y'all these lands. I might have to do it again. Okay, let me see. Hold on. Where is my map? Oh, here we go. Okay. Whew. All right. So if you look on the map, you'll see this is all southern, right? All southern Europe, right? So you got, he talked about Spain, Portugal. So all of this is southern Europe. Gibraltar, Portugal, Spain, right? Uh, Italy, right? Uh, Croatia, Bosnia, and her, I can't even say it, Herzegovina, Serbia, right? He said North Macedonia, Albania, right? Greece. He said that y'all don't like me. He said they was taken into slavery into South Europe, right? And so if that's the case, my brothers, and let me put this over here so I don't know where it is. If that's the case, let me read it again. J.A. Rogers is smarter than me. He's smarter than the camps. He's smarter than Bishop Nathaniel. Keep his name out your mouth, brother. So look, he said the Africans continued to arrive in southern Europe chiefly as slaves, while the white Vandals came in, right? Now, he says, but in 711 AD, right, they came in as conquerors. So this talking about Portugal, right? So they were some kind of way. We know history. History explains what happened, right? They got into a war against these Vandals. I think they took side. I think history says they took side with the Romans, the same people that took them into captivity. They took sides with them against the Vandals. Okay. Now, so let's go back here. So after that, 711, they came in as conquerors, crossing into Spain. They captured Gibraltar and defeated the Goths, white Germanic invaders of 3 centuries earlier. Their commander Tariq, a Negro, gave his name to Gibraltar, formerly Calpe. How about that? So, this is page 55 of the book. Second paragraph. He says, white Germans. The African Moors, sometimes called Arabs because of their language. I'm sorry, first paragraph. They crossed into Spain, they captured Gibraltar, and defeated the Goths, who were the white German invaders of 3 centuries earlier, right? So they were not Edomites. They were not Esau's so-called white men. They were white Germans. Germans come from who? Right? See, that's why they don't like me, because I tell the truth, right? Now, he said they were white Germans, right? So now the camps want to make Gomer be Esau. So let's go to Genesis 10, and we're going to debunk that real quick, and we're going to go further, all right? So Genesis 10, right? Y'all know I don't have time to do a 30-day course in a 2-hour, 3-hour video slot. I'm just laying the foundation. I haven't even got to where I'm going yet. Okay, so in Genesis 10, right, it says the sons, okay, so sons of Japheth are Gomer, right? And I don't mean Gomer Pyle, but Gomer. And the sons of Gomer are Ashkenaz, hint, Ashkenazim, right? Ask Dr. Michael Brown. That's just a name they took. That's just a name they took, right? So Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah, right? So those are Gomer's bands. Ashkenazi is one of Gomer's bands, right? Now, J.A. Rogers told us what? He told us that they were white German invaders. The Gauls were white Germanic invaders of 3 centuries earlier, right? What's so hard to comprehend about that? They were not. They were not Edomites. They were white Germanic invaders. That's what J.A. Rogers said. He went to the lands and wrote this book. He went in places that Bishop Nathaniel's crew can't go. Brother Delight said they pushed all that foolishness about Zepho and Greece hiding the part that the power went back to Yefet after Zepho died. Right, okay. Say you love the oppressor. You and me love the oppressor. You trying to say the oppressor, brother? Okay, all right, let me get back in here. All right. Okay, so they defeated the Gauls 3 centuries earlier, who was in there 3 centuries earlier. Their commander, Tariq, a Negro, gave his name to Gibraltar, formerly Calpe. So how many of y'all knew that? Did y'all know that Tariq named the land Gibraltar after him? Why they don't tell us this stuff in history, right? We call ourselves studying Black history. They don't tell us, what's that word? Shy sting. Y'all heard it before, shy sting. I have been called a union rep before. He's a union rep. Like I said, he's been called a union rep. He's been called a union rep for white people in the past. Okay. All right. Let me try to read some of J. Rogers, because I'm telling you. Y'all need to buy this book. I'm telling y'all. Okay, let me get back here. All right. So, thank you for that comment, my brother. That gave me a laugh. Oh yeah, thank you for joining our live stream. Please be respectful with your comments. We don't have no trolling here today. No trolls today. Okay. So these Africans were Moors, sometimes called Arabs because of their language. To the early Greeks, the Moors were a black or dark people, Marus. And to the Romans, Marus, a black woolly-haired people known synonymously as Ethiops, Nigger, Negro, and African. Even as late as the 5th century AD, Procopius, Roman historian, calls the people of Morocco black. As late as the 5th century AD. Okay? So, for all the people that want to say, no, Morocco's, they Middle Eastern looking. J. Rogers says no. 5th century AD, right? He said the 5th century AD, Procopius, the Roman historian, said that, right? About the 2nd century BC began invasions of white people into Morocco. Let me read that again because somebody missed that from me. About the 2nd century BC began invasions of white people into Morocco. The Romans, who called it Mauritania, came in, and it is to be presumed that their soldiers mixed with Moorish women. So the Romans came in, right? And what did the Romans do? The Romans came in Romans who called it Mauritania came in, and it is to be presumed that their soldiers mixed with Moorish women. Julius Caesar himself had a Moorish queen as a sweetheart. Julius Caesar was an Edomite. How many of y'all remember that clip? He said, and Julius Caesar was an Edomite. Well, Julius Caesar, J. Rogers said, right, he said, Yefef shall dwell in the tents of Shem. That's correct. So J. Rogers said what? He said that Julius Caesar, right, had a Moorish queen as a sweetheart. Later came the Vandals, a white people, there it is again, who were for a time allies with the Moors against Rome. Still later came the Islamic invaders whose ancestors, so I was wrong about this, so I had to correct myself. It wasn't an alliance with, the Vandals made an alliance with, Vandals were allies against Rome. Okay. Julius Caesar himself had a Moorish queen. Later came in the Vandals, a white people who were Islamic invaders whose ancestors for 30 centuries had been a mixture of white and black. Still later came Islamic invaders whose ancestors for 30 centuries had been a mixture of white and black. So there goes your white and black right there. Arab invaders, right? Due to the invasions, a lighter colored people, the Moors of the 8th century AD, were probably about the color of the native populations of Casablanca or Fez. In fact, if one goes by the description of white writers and painters, the Moorish invaders were on the whole very black. Okay, he's got notes there. I'm going to skip past that. All right. In the Chansom of Roland, written soon after they invaded France in 718 AD, they are described, verses 145 and 146, as blacker than ink, with large noses and ears, and with nothing white except teeth. J. Rogers got a sense of humor on it. They are 50,000 strong and are led by Marganus, emperor of Ethiopia and Carthage. Their most valiant figure is Abysme, that is Abyssinia. Oh, I learned something new. Who, verse 126, is described as black as melted pitch. In this epic, the Moors are called Saracens, a term which was also used for Negroes. Again, in the romance Amorian, one of the King Arthur's legends, Sir Morian, that is Moor, is described as all black. His head, his body, his hands were all black, saving only his teeth. Moors are black as burnt brands, but in all that men would praise in the night, he was fair after his kind. Though he were black, what was he the worse? In him was naught unsightly. He was taller by half a foot than any knight who stood beside him. Also, his teeth were as white as chalk. Otherwise, was he altogether black? Again, Morian, blacker than any son of man whom Christian had ever beheld. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go past this here. Moors also appear by thousands in Europe heraldry, and except in very rare instances are shown as coal black. Okay, so Moors went into Europe. Okay, some went into Europe as slaves, some went into Europe free will. Okay, Okay, let's get past this section here. So I guess basically what he's doing, he's setting up the stage to show you how the blacks got into Spain. Okay. So we're gonna go to this part right here. He says, in the 9th century, the Moors were to be aided greatly by other Islamic peoples as far east as Egypt and Arabia, whose armies from the days of pharaohs were predominantly black or dark mulatto. As for the Muslim Empire, when it stretched from Baghdad to Portugal on both shores of the Mediterranean, it was, as King rightly calls it, Negroid. Did y'all hear that? He said, the 9th century, the Moors were to be aided greatly by other Islamic peoples as far east as Egypt and Arabia. So Egypt and Arabia, he says, from Egypt to Arabia, whose armies from the days of the pharaohs were predominantly black or dark mulatto. Now, he says, as for the Muslim Empire, when it stretched from Baghdad to Portugal on both shores of the Mediterranean, it was a king rightly called it Negroid. So from Baghdad to Portugal. So let's look back at the map here. So let's see, we got Portugal over here, right? This is Portugal. Now I got to zoom in. So where's Baghdad? Okay. And I got to find back. Here's Baghdad right here. That's the land of Iraq, where Abraham's family and kindred came from. So J.A. Rogers is saying from Baghdad, the Arabs from Baghdad to all the way across here to Portugal. He said the Arabs from Baghdad to Portugal were what? From Baghdad. Okay, I lost my place here. Where is it? I should have highlighted it. No, I lost my place, y'all. Oh, here's right here. Okay, let me underline it. Lost my place. Sorry about that. Okay, let's highlight it. Okay. So he said, as for Muslim empire, when it stretched from Baghdad to Portugal on both sides of the Mediterranean, it was, Keeney rightly calls it Negroid. So let's look back at the map again. Okay. So he said on both sides of the Mediterranean. So in other words, this is the Mediterranean Sea right here, right? He said on both sides, which would mean, right, all of this Southern Europe. He said Southern Europe now. Am I right?
Am I right?
He said Southern Europe, which includes all these territories, right? On both sides of the Mediterranean, which would be North Africa, brother. Vocab Malone. He said both sides of the Mediterranean. J. Rogers is not a credible scholar. He says on both sides of the Mediterranean, right, which includes Portugal, Spain, Italy, right, these islands here, Greece, right, all the isles, Turkey, right, Cyprus, Lebanon, Syria, all of that. He says from from Baghdad all the way over to Portugal, J. Rogers says they were Negroid. Okay? Of course, it had a large percentage of whites too, but so great was the number of Zangs or unmixed Negroes in the army that in 870 AD, when Islam was at the height of its power, the blacks revolted and held Baghdad. Did you know that? In 1870 AD, when Islam was at the height of its power, the blacks revolted and held Baghdad, capital of the world, then mightiest empire, for 14 years. In 871, the Negro general Mohallabi seized Basra, rich city, famous in the Arabian Nights, and made slaves and concubines of white women and children. During the look at that. Look, right? Okay. I missed my punch, but I'm gonna do it.
Look, 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 look. Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this. Look at this.
He said in 871, their Negro general Mohallabi seized Basra, rich city, famous for the Arabian Nights, and made slaves and concubines of white women and children. So they're mixed in Basra during the Crusades. So the camps want to make Basra be Ishmaelites. How many of y'all heard that before? J. Rogers says no. He says the Negro general seized Basra and he made slaves and concubines of the white women and children. And during the Crusades, so many Negroes were taken out of Ethiopia and the Sudan to fight the white Christian invader that in 1196, Negro troops in Egypt, 50,000 strong, dominated the court and armies and marshal and palace. And Negro eunuch, the mountainman Al-Khalifi, their protector, was one of the most powerful men in the empire. Ibn Alatir, Muslim writer of the time, says the revolting Negroes made the streets of Cairo run blood for days. Okay, now what I want to do is, what time is it? Okay, what I want to do is this here. I want to, what was it I wanted to do? I want to show you this here real quick in my Gemini, right? Remember I showed you this earlier, but I want to show you Gemini is deep. Gemini is a deep brother. Okay. I asked the question, which slave trade took Africans to those locations in the 4th and 5th century? So Google Gemini said in the 4th and 5th centuries, the movement of Africans into Southern Europe was primarily driven by the trans-Saharan slave trade, right? So how many of y'all ever heard of the trans-Saharan slave trade, right? J.A. Rogers was telling you that y'all can't see the connection, that these were Negroes that was taken as slaves into Southern Europe. How come you can't see the connection that these Negroes were taken and placed into Southern Europe, and when J. Rogers tell you all the way from Baghdad to Portugal, they were Negroes. But you can't make the connection that these are the same people that was taken into captivity by Javon. We crazy for teaching us when history is connecting with prophecy, proving to you that those people that were in Spain and Portugal were Negroes that were invaded by white Germanic tribes. prior to them being led into captivity, they were making concubines and wives out of the white ones. Where are they at today? Are they still in existence? How is it that we want to make every Israelite look alike? The prophecy said that Israel will be scattered to the four corners, not just in North America. I used to teach that foolishness. We all over the planet. Some of us look like bright and damn near white, like me. Some of them look lighter than me. We gotta stop the madness. Stop the madness! We gotta stop the madness, brothers and sisters. Because see, it's the hatred that's killing the movement. Okay? So now let's go back in here. So he said what? The trans-Saharan slave trade and the internal trade networks of the late Roman Empire, unlike the transatlantic trade of the 15th through 1800s, which was a massive oceanic enterprise. This earlier trade was complex land and sea network that had existed since antiquity. The trans-Saharan route during the period, the late Roman and early Byzantine eras, enslaved people who were brought from sub-Saharan Africa across the desert to North Africa, Mediterranean ports like Carthage. Are we connecting the dots? Modern Tunisia and Leptis Magna, modern Libya, right? The Garamantes, this Berber civilization located in Fezzan region of modern-day Libya, acted as a primary middleman. They conducted raids further south and operated the caravan routes that supplied the Roman markets with gold, ivory, and enslaved people. Isn't that what we read earlier, brothers and sisters? In Ezekiel 27, and we connect that to Romans, Revelation 13. They sold the purses of men. Tarshish was thy merchant, right? This history is connected to that. How can you not see that the so-called black Negroes that have a history of being enslaved are part of these people? Silly rabbit. See, I can't get mad at people that's just plain blind because you want to get emotionalized. You want to feel something running down your spine. Oh, thank you. And don't get me wrong. It's not wrong with you feeling good. I'm not against that. But what I'm saying is that most people feel good. They ain't got nothing. They don't have nothing in their head. You just got a good feeling, the hoping and the wishing and the praying. You don't got nothing. You can't hold the Most High to his word. The Most High said that he would scatter us to the four corners and that when we return to the covenant, he would bring us back. But y'all can't see that. Can't see it. We ain't them people. Just as stiff-necked and rebellious as you could be, but you can't see that you those people in the city near you. Jay Rogers is nailing it, right? All right, and Google Gemini is breaking it down. Now, look, let's go back in Google Gemini. I'm gonna go back to Jay Rogers. Okay, now, so he said, look, so Libya, okay, the Garamantes, the Berber civilization located in Fezzan region of modern-day Libya, acted as a primary middleman, right? So destinations from North Africa ports and enslaved Africans were shipped across the Mediterranean to major southern European hubs like Rome, Naples, Genoa, and Constantinople, right? And context of Roman slavery. In the 4th, 5th centuries, the Roman Empire was still the dominant power in the southern Europe. Though it was beginning a fragment, slavery in this era was not defined by race in the way it became during the 17th century. The Roman enslaved population was increasingly diverse, including Greeks, Gauls, Germans, and Britons, right? We're not disputing that. Some of them Gauls and Germans and Britons got some African ancestry in them. That's my point I'm making. They want to hide it. They don't want to associate themselves with the Negroes. That's why when you do the ancestry DNA, you're going to find some Caucasian white person that's third cousin. You're like, how are we cousins? Look, I knew a sister when I was in corporate America, right? I told a story before. I'm going to tell it again. She permed her hair every day. She looked white. She looked whiter than white. I mean, she looked whiter than these keys on this keyboard. And one day she came to work and didn't have perm in her hair. And her hair was kinky. And I walked, because she sat across from me. I went, and I looked at her, I was like, and me, y'all, if I want to ask a question, I'm going to ask a question. So I went over to her. As white as she could be, her hair was kinky. I said, I said to her, in a corporate way, because you gotta say stuff. When you're in corporate America, you gotta watch what you say. I said, I said, um, I said, what happened to your hair? It's like that. She said, I said, your hair looks different. And she said, yeah, this is my natural hair. She said, I'm black like you. She said it like that. I'm black like you. I said, come again? She said, I'm black like you. I said, what you talking about, Willis? She said, I'm black like you. I thought she was trying to insult me, right? She said, I'm going to show you some pictures of my family. She went in her little photo album and had some black people. She said, this is my family. They was blacker than me. I said, wow, that's my grandfather. She said, I'm black. So the thing of it is that we got to stop looking at the surface. Because that person you looking at, you thinking is an Israelite, these people that say Esau the white man, they just might be an Edomite themselves. Right? So just because a person looks Caucasian white don't mean that they from your fat. Because she said, I perm my hair. He said, because it works for me. People think I'm white, and I look white to get ahead. She's using that white privilege, the white part of her. Have mercy. Okay. So he said that they were Gauls, Greeks, Gauls, Germans, and Britons were enslaved. Now, they don't want to tell you that, right? All these white supremacists that think they're white and pure white, I can guarantee you they got some Negro down in their tree. They don't want to tell you about it because they can pass for being white. But on that day when the Most High gathers us from the four corners, and if they got any ancestry DNA in them, they're gonna say, "I'm a Hebrew too. My fifth great grandfather was from North Africa." You too late then. No, it won't be. Most High still spare you in your ignorance, right? All right, praise God. All right, so I keep telling you, vocabulary alone might be Hebrew. He got a little bit of that Negroid look about him. And when you look at him certain way, like, my brother look like he say he's Italian. I know a whole lot of black Italians. Don't let the cover fool you, brothers and sisters, right? Like I said, these Hebrew camps that teach that Esau, the white man, 3 generations back, they probably got a white great grandfather, Caucasian son of your fat. They don't want to reveal that, so that we don't believe in DNA, right? It's not a black or white thing, but I'm just trying to make a point because some people get caught up with the wrong thing, right? Salvation is to all that call upon the name of Yah. Can I get an amen? All right, so Gemini says what? Scale, while 4th, 5th centuries saw a decline in the total number of enslaved people in Rome, dropping from roughly 30% to the population to 10%, the trade in exotic goods and people from Africa interior remained a constant high-value luxury trade for the elite. Did y'all hear that? Let me read it again because somebody's missing that. Let's read it again, right? This part here. He says, the trade in exotic goods and people from the African interior remained a constant high-value luxury trade for who? The elite. Just because a person is elite don't mean they Japhetic Caucasian. Some people will sell out their own people for profit. We see it happen, even in America, right? So don't you fool yourself. DJ T just might have some Negro in him. Imagine that. Imagine that, right? It's not impossible. But the Most High said, "The first shall be last, and the last shall be first." So you can rob your own people if you got some ancestry that connect you to them. But in the kingdom age, you're gonna be the tail. All right. Now, let me go back. Where was I at? Okay. The transition to the Middle Ages, as the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the late 5th century, these trade routes didn't disappear. They changed hands. How did they change hands? Vandals and Byzantines, when the Vandals conquered North Africa in the 400s, they took over these trade routes. Do y'all see where we're going with this? Vandals and Byzantines, when the Vandals conquered North Africa, in the mid 400s, what did they do? They took over the trade routes. Later, Byzantine Empire reconquested of North Africa under Justin in the 6th century, briefly restored Roman-style trade regulations over the Saharan path. So who were they? They were the white Vandals. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? I keep saying this. One of these days it's going to come out. Because he called them white Vandals doesn't mean that they ancestor wasn't raped by them so-called Negroes that came in and made concubines out of them. We have a lot of people in history that will cover things up so they can blend in with the crowd. They'll deny their own people so they can be on the top. So that's a great possibility. A lot of elite. And it might be some elite that look white that are Edomites. I'm not going to put that out of the equation. That's possible, right? It's possible. But not all so-called white people are Esau. I don't buy that at all. Okay, now. So, okay. I'm not going to go backwards because I covered it already. Talk about the Romans, how the Romans invaded Morocco. Okay, and you had the combination, the mixture. I'm not going to cover that there. So I'm going to go back to Jay Rogers' book. Okay. All right. So that interesting what he said about Baghdad, right? Let's see. General Mangin in the article of the role of Negro troops in Europe tells of the important part they played in the conquest and development of Spain, especially under Abderrahman, 757 to 787, who founded the independent kingdom of Cordova. This caliphate flourished, he said, until black contingents disappeared from the army. But a rival Moorish leader brought from Africa a great number of Negroes, from which he formed a redoubtable regiment of cavalry in 1016 and restored it. Incidentally, Franco repeated this with Moorish troops in 1936. After the invasion of 711 came other waves of Moors, probably even darker. In 1086, Yusuf bin Takfin, who is described as dark and woolly haired, was probably a Nigerian, I would say Nigerian, yeah, excuse me. Probably a Nigerian brought in an army composed largely of pure Negroes. How about that? That's no such thing as pure Negroes, but I get what he's saying. And defeated a much superior white Christian force at Zalaka. Wait a minute, why was Christians fighting? It's supposed to love everybody. Jesus loved everybody. No, but this was a Christian war. Y'all heard of the Crusades, right? Anyway, I digress. It says Christian force in Zalaka, Spain. Another Yaqub el Mansur, definitely recorded as the son of a Negro woman, invaded the peninsula in 1194 and made himself a master of almost the whole of it. The guard of these Moorish kings were gigantic Negroes, jet black and of immense strength, recruited from the Atlas, Timbuktu, and Nigeria. How about that? How about that? Man, I love Jay Rogers, man. Man, I love Jay Rogers. This brother is deep, man. He went in deep, brothers and sisters. He went in deep. Who would know this history if somebody like him didn't go in there? So he's telling the story like a T.I. Tis. Man, I wish I had met him. Okay, let's go back. I ain't got excited. That's my guy, though. Jay Rod, that's my guy, man. Moorish sultans whose fathers might be of any hue from black to white were sometimes the sons of white Christian mothers captured on the ships or on the coast of Western Europe, including the British Isles. Did y'all know that? Let me read that again. Somebody missed that. He said, Moorish sultans whose fathers might be of any hue from black to white were sometimes the sons of white Christian mothers, captured on ships or the coast of Western Europe, including the British Isles. So yeah, white Christian mothers was captured and taken into slavery. Oh my, you can't make this stuff up, bro. It's just... Okay. Christian mothers captured on ships on the coast of Western Europe, including the British Isles. Among such are Abi el Ola, Muhammad Abd el Kuhad, right? And Abu Debus. Female slaves with faultless complexions and golden hair were imported from Sweden and Finland and Greek and Circassian. Is that right? Circassian beauties as dancers, singers, and wives. Let me back up again. Oh man, that's deep. Look what he said. Look. Look what he said.
Look.
Look what he said.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this. Look at this.
Y'all know I love Jay Rogers, man. I like how he put it out. Look what he said. He said it in a political way, right? Y'all that know how to read what somebody's saying and declare, you know what he's saying, right? So I'm back. He said, Among such are Abi el Ola, Mohammed Abin el Kuhad, and Abu Dabus. He says female slaves with faultless complexions. He said, man, I love this guy, man. He said female slaves with faultless complexions and golden hair. Y'all hear what he's saying? Come on, brothers and sisters. Come on. Come on. Do y'all hear what J.A. Rogers is saying in a political terminology? He said female slaves, right, with faultless complexions, right, and golden hair, right? It's kind of like saying blonde hair and blue eyes. That's what he's saying. That's what I got out of what he's saying. It's tickling me how he worded it, right? Female slaves with faultless complexions and golden hair were imported from Sweden. Wait a minute, brother.
Wait a minute.
So he's saying that they see y'all better know. It was a lot of mixing going on. This is what he's saying. They went to Sweden. Just in case you don't know where Sweden is, let me help you out here. Let me where my map at. Look at my map. Look at my map. All right. Where's Sweden at? Hold on. Where's Sweden? Somebody help me out here. Where's Sweden at? I might have to zoom in. Let's see. Wait a minute. Sweden. Hold on. SWEEEN. Sweden. Why it ain't coming up? Okay, wait a minute. Where's Sweden at? Somebody help me out. I gotta get my geography together. Wait a minute, it's in Europe somewhere. Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I gotta find it because I gotta show you on the map. I gotta spell it right. Sweden. SWEDEN, right? SWEDEN. Okay, let's do it. Let's back this up. I don't want to. No, let's tell you what I'm gonna do. Let's do it this way. Let's open another tab. Where is Sweden? Okay. Okay. Northern Europe. Okay. Okay. Near Stockholm. Okay. Near Stockholm. Norway. Okay. Near Norwegian Sea. Near Norway. Okay. So y'all can look see what I'm looking at, right? But I wanted to show y'all on the map. So that's what? Baltic Sea. So let's go. All right, let's see if I can find it now. Okay. It's near the Baltic Sea. Where's the Baltic Sea at? Okay. I'm getting close. Oh, here we go. Way up here. Good gravy. Boom. Rogers is deep. They went way up here. Now, watch what he says here, right? White ain't white, black ain't black. So y'all stop fooling yourself, right? You've been lied to. You've been
had.
Everything ain't what it looked like, brothers. Okay, now, so he said they went up into Sweden, right? That might be why I got some relatives up there in Sweden. Oh my goodness. This is not supposed to go this way. This lesson wasn't supposed to go this way. Y'all gotta help me out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everything ain't what it looked like. He said they would go to Sweden, right? He said they would go female slaves with faultless complexions and gold hair were imported from Sweden and Finland and Greek and Saracen beauties as dancers, singers, and wives. For 8 centuries, sharply black women from Ethiopia and West Africa were brought in for the same purpose. White French slaves were also sold in numbers to the Moors by Jews and with royal permission. Woo! Man, that hurt. Jay Rogers is telling y'all ain't as pure as you think you are. This for Israel only. You sound stupid now, don't you? You just might be counting yourself out and not knowing, right? So now, Jay Rogers, let's look at it again because I want y'all to see what he said. This man was a scholar. He said, this is number 15. He got the references down here from these books. Sir Walter Scott, SP, page 622. We can look at these references, but I trust the man. He did his homework because everything I see, he followed through. Anyway, right here he said, female slaves. Underline this part because somebody need to see it. Because y'all better tell these kids they better read this book. They'll stop all the Esau the white man crap when they see this book. Okay. He says female slaves with faultless complexions and golden hair were imported from Sweden and Finland and Greek and Circassian beauties as dancers, singers, and wives. For 8 centuries, sharply black women from Ethiopia and West Africa were brought in for the same purposes, right? And he says, white French slaves were also sold in numbers to the Moors by Jews and with royal permission. White French slaves, right? So, interesting, right? Now, notice what he said, right? That's true. That's true. Notice what he said. White French slaves were sold in numbers to the Moors by Jews and royal permission. They used Bordeaux as a slave port. Arnold thinks that most of the Islamic slaves came from the Slavonic people. That's where the word slave comes from, right? They don't tell you that, but that's where the actual word slave come from, right? Slavic peoples. It was not until 1560 when Moorish power warned the black women by Christian edicts ceased to arrive in Spain for Muslim harems. The Christians, however, for 2 centuries later, continued to the importation of blacks. Who did it? The Christians. For 2 centuries later, continued the importation of blacks. The favorite wife of Yusuf ibn Takfin, already mentioned, was a white Christian captive. Fadhel Hassan, perfection of what? Of beauty. She was the mother of his frizzy-haired son and successor, Ali Alfonso the fifth or sixth, white Christian king who was so often beaten by Yusuf, took a Moorish wife, the lovely Zeta, who was the mother of his favorite son, Sancho. This is not going good for the 12 tribes chart. Abdul Aziz ibn Musa says Freyr not only wedded the widow of King Roderick, but took many Christian virgins for his concubines. Wow. This is not going good for that Esau the white man doctrine. It's It's putting holes all in the bag. It's putting holes in the bag, brother. I'm trying to tell you. Jay Rogers is going in, ain't he? All right, Sancho. Let's go back to Sancho. All right, Sancho. What does Sancho do? Sancho, the eighth Christian king, wished to marry one of these daughters of Yaqub el Mansur, whose mother was and said was a Negro, but Yaqub declined. Abu Hassan Ali, the black sultan, whose mother was also a Negro slave, had as his favorite wife Shamsed Duha, the morning sun, a beautiful white captive. A what? A beautiful white cat. One more time. A what? Underline that one there. A beautiful white captive. Of the, it's a 20 of 3 Moorish kings killed in battle, Alcazar in 1578. 2 were mulattoes and 1 an unmixed Negro, Mulai Mohammed the Negro. How about that? Mulai Mohammed the Negro. The whites thought marriage with Moors. The whites thought marriage with the Moors an honor. Moors were then the foremost power in Europe. Boom. So the Moors, the white women, was marrying the Moorish men. I said it, I say it again. The white women was marrying the Moorish men, brother. Gotta stop the madness. Right? Jay Rogers is a deep brother. He putting all kinds of holes in his white Esau, the white man doctrine. You might not be as black as you think you are. Only black in you is your heart. You got hate-filled doctrine. When you just might be a Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains. But you want to make Esau the white man that can't be saved. You sound foolish now, don't you? This lesson wasn't supposed to go this way. It was supposed to go another way, but the Most High, he done flipped the script on me, right? Okay, let's go back in. All right. Whew. I love it. All right. So, look at somebody got a highlighter right here. Look. The whites thought marriage with the Moors was an honor. The what? The white women thought marriage with the Moors was an honor. Why? Because the Moors were the foremost power in Europe. Could it be why Queen Charlotte looked like a Negro? Y'all saw the cover, right? And matter of fact, it's in his book Sex and Race. He actually goes in detail, right? So, King Charles or King, what is it? Who's the king of England now? He just might be a Negro. I'm loving this, y'all. I'm loving this, right? I'm having me a ball. All right, let's go back in. Okay. Man. He said they were the conquerors and the whites the conquered. Look. Would you please invite a white supremacist to this video right now so I can shake them up with this? Shake them up. Because they don't know this stuff. And most Negroes don't know this stuff, right? Wasn't until you got introduced to Jay Rogers that he breaks it down. This man toured the globe, which I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a place where he went. Y'all be my helper. I'm retiring in another month. I'm going to saddle up the ass and I'm going. I might run over to my boy. What's his name? Go black to Africa. We're going to hang out. We're going to travel. We're going to go places together. I'm going to go with him and meet up with him. and I scoot on over to find Ron Dalton, hang out with him. We got a brother in Ghana. Uh, what's his name? He got the community out there. What's it called? Uh, Pan African Village. Yeah, I'm gonna make some rounds. All right, so I'll get ready. Some of y'all gonna have to put me up for a night or two. Help a brother out. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So he says the whites thought. Okay, I read that part. Roy Nash said it would be an honor for a white to mate or marry with the governing class. The Moors, like the Greeks and Romans, had a very low opinion of whites to the north. Had they not beaten them often on the battlefield and with inferior numbers, Aristotle, Cicero, Caesar, Tacitus, Constantine, the so-called great, and Saint Jerome hadn't thought much of them, and they hadn't probably advanced much in the 10 centuries since. Said of Andalusia, 1029 to 1071, thought Nordics no higher than the primitive blacks of African interior. He wrote, they are nearer animals than men. Wow. They are by nature unthinking and their manner crude, right? Their bellies protrude, their color is white, and their hair is long. In sharpness and delicacy of spirit and intellectual perspicacity. What is that? Perspicacity. J.A.V. using the words, man. Perspicacity. Perspicacity. I can't even say. Oh, y'all help me today, brother. J. Rogers, I can't do it. I can't do it. Whatever that word is, y'all know. Okay. He said, they are nil. Ignorance, lack of reasoning power, and boorishness are, he says, common among them. That's quite a statement he made there. Who made that statement? 23. He said he's quoting from somebody's book. Okay, that's Kitab Tabakat al-Uman. Okay, that's his quote. That was kind of a racial statement he made. But I digress. Okay, on the Central African blacks, he wrote, they have hot tempers and excitable manner. That's true. Their skin is blackened and their hair woolly. Turbulence, stupidity, and ignorance are common among them. How about that? That's a racial statement. Modern white historians agree with this Moorish writer. Makub. All right. Toda Rabah for that super chat there, Brother Digital. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay. Modern white historians agree with the Moorish writer. Makub, in his history of the Crusades, described the Prussians of the 13th century as being just a few grades above savagery. Draper says that the palaces of the then rulers of Germany, France, and England were, in comparison with those of the Moorish rulers of Spain, scarcely better than stables of Moors. Lancelot Holborn says the Moorish scholars of Toledo, Cordova, and Seville were writing treatises on spherical trigonometry when the mathematical syllabus of the Nordic University of Oxford stopped abruptly at the 5th proposition of the Book of Euclid. Okay. Let's go down here. The Alhambra, Dr. Michael Brown, Alhambra, and the general life of Granada and mosque at Cordova are testimony to this. Nothing more superb in architect has ever been built. blackness of skin was not the disgrace. It was later to be a colonial America. It was later to be in colonial America. Proud white knights thought Negroes such worthy foes, they placed them in their family crests and welcomed those who became Christians as allies and social equals. With the dark-skinned race in power, miscegenation with the whites was as easy as that of whites with Indians and Negroes in the New World. Let me read that again. With dark-skinned race, with the dark-skinned race in what power? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
See? That's why they want to burn the books. They don't want y'all to know this stuff. It wasn't too long ago where the black-skinned people was in power in Europe. They don't want y'all to know that. That's how you got a third cousin in Europe. He tell you how you got that. See, we was taught that, the slave master was raping the slaves in America. No. You got 3 and 4 generations back. Not too long ago. Okay? Listen. He says, with the dark-skinned people, dark-skinned race in power, the 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 dark-skinned race in power. Who? Who's in power?
Wait a minute.
He said the dark-skinned race was in power. That's what he said. I ain't say that. Hey, J. Rod, Joel, Prophet Joel, I'm going to call him Prophet Joel. Prophet Joel Augustus Rogers, he's connecting the dots. The Most High said, I will sow the house of Israel with the seed of beast. I asked that question in the class. They went crazy trying to answer it. I said, well, it's got to be the Most High. So who's the beast? I'm looking at Daniel talking about the 4 beasts. And the Most High said, I'm going to sow the house of Israel with the beasts. Seed of men and the seed of beasts. And now it all makes sense now. Right? They want to keep you in the dark, make you think that you always was a slave when you just might be part of their family. They don't want to tell you the truth because they want to keep you in the dark, keep you thinking we never had nothing. Silly rabbit. All right.
You're going to learn today.
All right, let me get back. Okay. So I'm almost done. He says, with the dark-skinned race in power, miscegenation with whites. Who? Miscegenation with who? With whites. Miscegenation. There goes that word. There goes that word. Light. Miscegenation. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to ask Google a question. Okay. I asked Google. For those of us that are slow. What is miscegenation? Miscegenation is a historical term used to describe the mixing of different racial groups through marriage, cohabitation, and procreation. The term is deeply rooted in legal and social history of the United States, particularly regarding laws that sought to prevent interracial relationships. Okay, I don't want to get into the etymology. I just wanted y'all to see that. So the mixing of the races. So now, let me bring the scriptures into play because y'all say, brother, you just talking. I'm going to show you what the books say. You can throw a rock at the screen now. When you see this in the scripture, you go to your camp leader, ask him, if Esau's a white man, then how do we know who Esau is if everybody's mixing? Who's Esau today? That's what they ask you. You tell me. Jay Rogers said there was a whole bunch of Moors was mixing with the whites. They was loving the blacks back then. Now they hate the black. They don't want to be associated with the black, right? Why? Right? Now, Mosai said this right here. Let's go to the scriptures, right? All right? So y'all won't think I'm just saying, I'm just talking out of my mouth, talking crazy, right? Y'all think I'm talking crazy. I'm going to show you what the book say, right? Y'all know we always quote, I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel, right? But we never read the whole thing. We're going to read it today.
Wait a minute.
We're going to read it today. All right, now. So this Jeremiah 31, 27. 31, 31 is where we always read, right? You know, behold in those days, and that time says Yah, I will make a new covenant with Israel only, right? Israel only, right? Okay. All right, Dodo Brain. Read up above that. Mr. Camp Leader. Esau, the white man can't be saved, Dodo Brain. Read up above that. Here we go. All right. He says, behold, wait a minute. Jeremiah 31, 27. Behold, the days come, says Yah, says Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, whatever you want to call him, Yahweh, right? Yah, the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth said it. All right? What did he say, brother? Read. Behold, the days come, says Yah, that I will do what? I will sow. I will sow. I will sow. Sow comes from the word zarah, which means seed, plant, to plant, to fructify. I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehudah with who? The seed of man and the seed of beasts.
Wait a minute.
Isn't that what J.A. Rogers is telling you? The house of Israel was sowed with the seed of men and with the seed of beasts as we were scattered to the four corners. Tell the devil, put that in his pipe and smoke it. He said, the Most High said it. Right? He said, let's read it again. Y'all think I'm talking crazy. The days come, says Yah, I will sow the house of Israel. And just in case you get confused, he going to be specific. Well, North America, we Judah. Okay. I'm going to also sow the house of Judah with the seed of men and with the seed of the beast. Right? Look at that. Bema. Bahima. What am I trying to say, brother and sister? There is no pure, thoroughbred Hebrew Israelite. Are you saying Deuteronomy 28 is not referring to us in the translation? No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is some of the people came in there, had some other DNA in there. They Israelites by covenant, right? They might be Hamite on the father's side. You go to Judges chapter 3, we see Canaan giving their sons to the Israelite daughters, and the Israelite males. So Canaanites was taking the Israelite women. They was being the paternal fathers in Judges chapter 3. right? Israel came out of Kemet with a mixed multitude. Every male wasn't of the loins of Abraham, of the loins of Jacob, right? Abraham was given a promise, and he told him that circumcised him that's bought with money, right? So they wasn't Abraham's seed. So it doesn't matter whether you can connect yourself DNA genetically back to Jacob, right? There are blessings, specific blessings to those that are of his seed, that physically DNA. That's the 12 tribe. Take that to the bank. But men of other nations can come under the covenant of Yah because the Most High gave that to Abraham before there was an Israelite nation. We want to be selfish and stingy because people are selfish and stingy to us. We can't do that, right? So now, the Most High said, I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehudah with the seed of men and the seed of beasts. Who are the beasts? Ask your teacher, who's the beast? That's right. Don't get mad at me. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, brothers and sisters. I want to be wrong. Okay. Let me go back a second. I can bring this thing to a close. All right. So, with dark-skinned race and power, miscegenation with the whites was as easy as whites with Indians and Negroes in the New World. Polygamy speeded up the process too. The constant intermingling of Spaniards and Moors meets us at a very, the constant intermingling of Spaniard and Moors meets us at every step, says Lee. Freire writes, if the Moors did not mingle freely with the Portuguese population, then I do not know what miscegenation is. Scott thought that the mingling of races and the resulting prevalence of crosses with the influence of climate had much to do with the later high civilization reached by the Moors. He adds, no greater contrast in comparative ethnology could be found than the variety of races than in Spain, right? Among these peoples from Eastern Europe were Slavs, who, thanks to the cosmopolitan spirit of the Moors, rose like the unmixed black slaves, even to be rulers. The African influence, says Freire, seething beneath the European, gave a sharp relish to sexual life and a limitation, and to religion, with Moorish or Negro blood running through a great light-skinned population. When it is hot, or when it is not the predominant strain in regions that to this day are inhabited by a dark-skinned people. So listen to this right here. This right here, brother. Whew. When I read this gonna have your head spinning. This part right here. Okay, y'all ready? All right. The noble families in Portugal, as in Spain, that absorbed the blood of the Arab or the Moor were innumerable. Let's read that again. The noble families in Portugal, as in Spain, that absorbed the blood of the Arab or the Moor were innumerable. Some of the knights who, in the wars of reconquest, distinguished themselves most by the Moor killing ardor of their Christianity had such blood. Of the Count of Coimbra, Don Senado, the chronicles tell us he was of mixed blood of Christian and Moor, and that he was a vizier among the Saracens. Another mixed blood, Dom Pfeifus, Saracim became a member of the Christian nobility by marrying a Mendes de Braganza. Gandia says similarity as to the mixture of Moors and other inhabitants of the Iberian Peninsula. It is useless to deny its occurrence. Without going into the social life of a Christian and Muslim, it may be mentioned in passing that the son of Musa married the widow of King Roderick, and the royal family of Witza united with Moors of the purest stock. The colored population of southern Spain from about the 9th to the 6th centuries was very likely similar to the native quarter of Casablanca today or Harley, and with about the same proportion of whites. As for Portugal, where Negro slaves on a large scale was introduced in 1440 to 1442, the Negro element was greater. The Moors were finally thrust out of Spain in the 17th century, but they continued to be a maritime power. Moorish sea, Moorish sea rovers raided the coast of Western Europe and the British Isles for slaves, whom they sold in great white market at Salé. Did y'all hear that? So you got a bunch of white people that was being sold as slaves, brothers and sisters, to the blacks. The blacks. Y'all don't like me. All right. Yeah, no, it's not me. It's Jay Rogers. Okay, now, look what he said. I'm just about done. He says, let's read again. The Moors were finally thrust out of Spain in the 17th century, but they continued to be maritime power. So when they were kicked out of Spain, they went into Europe, and what did they do? Moorish sea rovers raided the coast of Western Europe and the British Isles for slaves, whom they sold in great white markets at Salé. Moulay Ismail, their greatest emperor since Yaqub el-Mansur, had an army of captured white slaves and 25,000 other white slaves of both sexes to build his consul place and stables at Meknes. Moulay Ismail himself was the son of the ugliest and most wretched unmixed Negro female slave in the empire, according to Abbe Bousnat, who went to him on a mission from Louis the XIV to free French slaves. There is no authentic portrait of Moulay Ismail, but there is one of his brother, Moulay Akid, by same mother and father, and is certainly that of the unmixed Negro. Okay, let me see. So he goes into, let's read this part right here. This is good right here. The Jews, let me highlight this part right here. This brings it home for me right here. Whew. This is good stuff right here. Okay. He said the Jews also brought in much Negro strain. Let me back that up again. I love Jay Rogers, man. He says the Jews brought in much Negro strain. Some of the noblest of the Sephardic families, aristocrats of Jewry, were Negroes. Isaac de Costa mentioned sons and grandsons of Don Yachaya ben Yaisk, who were royal treasurers, court physicians, astrologers, and royal favorites in the court of Castile and Portugal, one of whom was Don David Negro. Boom. Now look. Now look.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
So look David, look. Benaiah has a real good teaching on the Negro, because Negro was a name of royalty. Okay, it was a tribal family called the Negroes, right? So Don, right? Um, Don David Negro, right? Who is one of my ancestors. I trace an ancestral line back to this David Negro guy. He ended up in Maryland. I was like, wow, man, that's my ancestor. Oh, I'm authentic. I'm an authentic Hebrew, right? Okay. Um, okay, where was that here? I got lost in the sauce. Okay. So the Jews had brought in much Negro strain. Some of the noblest of the Sephardic families, aristocrats of Jewry, were Negroes. Isaac da Costa mentions sons and grandsons of Don Yakaya ben Yaish, who were royal treasurers, court physicians, astrologers, and royal favorites at the court of Castile and Portugal, one of whom was Don David Negro, who, with another illustrious Israelite, Don Yehuda, in the following year followed Donna Leonora, widow of Don Fernando, whose favorites they had been in Castile. His name Negro is derived, according to the author of Shalshith, from Dos Negros, one of the three seniors which were given to the progenitor of the king of Portugal. Certain it is that the house of Braganza, with the descendants of Europe of King John I of Portugal, gave Jewish blood in their veins. He mentions also another noble family named Negro. That's what I just said, right? Bearing the same arms as the Pretos. The Preto name was the name later used and still used in Portugal for Negro. Pombal, in abolishing slavery in Portugal, descended that the term Negro should no longer be used, says Wyndham. In Portugal, says this writer, mulattoes frequently rose to high positions. They were, okay, look at the images here while we go on to the next page. These are some Moors. It says, Miley Arsheld, Prince of Tafalita, Emperor of Morocco and Fez. Okay. The left is General Bassa of the armies of Mullah Ismail. That's the left. This one is here. Like somebody's uncle. Look at that nose. Look at that nose. Look at that nose like some of my people. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Mullah Archar, Emperor of Morocco, 1631. Moorish chess players of Spain, right? And from 13th century, was that mission of Alfonso de Sage. Note the white servant. J. Rogers deep in it. Okay. Yeah, so I left off with what? They were decorated with the Order of Christ. They commanded Portuguese ships. As regards to Christian Spain and Portugal, Negroes were imported in droves from 1440 until the abolition of slavery in Portugal in 1773. Did you know that? So, as regards to Christian Spain, Portugal, Negroes were imported in droves from 1440 until the abolition of slavery in Portugal in 1773. Already before discovery of America, says Fernando Ortiz, several thousands of Negro slaves had been extra ex, ex, expatriated from Senegal, Guinea, and the Congo, and were working in Lisbon and Algarves, in Seville, and in Andalusia. The Catholic sovereigns were dealers in Negro slaves. How about that? It was Christopher Columbus who went plundering in Negro slaves in Guinea before stealing Indian slaves in Cuba. Before the discovery of America, the Negroes already were cutting sugar canes in Andalusia. And in Seville, there was a municipal council of native Negroes with fraternal orders, kings, and overseers. The Negroes came first to the Indies from Spain. Oh, there's Benaiah. There's another one of Benaiah's babies here. He said the Negroes came first to the Indies from Spain. One more time. Let's highlight that one there. Oh my goodness. My mercy. Okay. The Negroes came first to Indies from Spain, not from Africa. Wait a minute, brother.
Wait a minute.
Y'all don't hear me. He said, Jay Rogers, he said the Negroes first came to the Indies, West Indies, from Spain, right? He said they first came from the Indies from Spain, not from Africa. And Euclides de Acuna said of Brazil, the mulatto was not made in America. He came to us already made from the mother country. How about that? How about putting a myth in its place? They were already mulattoes before they got here, which makes sense to me because I saw one of my ancestors that had mulatto on back in the first census. Had mulatto. I said, interesting. Okay. Anyway, but they came from the West Indies on my father's side. Okay. Anyway, the Negroes came first to the Indies from Spain, not from Africa, and as Euclides de Acunha said of Brazil, the mulatto was not made in America. He came to us already from the mother country. The African Negro slave trade was more abundant during the 15th and 16th centuries for the peninsula than for America. In one city like Evora, Portugal, the Negroes undeniably exceeded the whites. Several thousands of Wolof, Mandingo, Guinea, and Congo slaves entered Lisbon and Serville each year and were sold for cities and fields of the south of Iberia. And without the bestial prejudice which afterwards were current in American societies of agrarian slaveholding economy. Oh, pardon me, I'm getting tired. The Negroes and mulattoes were frequently emancipated and both rose to prominence by virtue of knowledge, art, valor, or love. Negroes were adopted into royal families, given the royal surname, and accepted into marriage with the nobility. Moreno Villa names several such, among them Don Alfonso Carlos de Bourbon, adopted son of Charles III, and architect. Guzman de Alfarachi, who had a Negro sweetheart, himself mentions a Negra woman who lived like a great lady, Goya. How about that? There goes Goya. Goya, 1746 to 1828. So Goya was a Negro woman. Goyas. You ever see the Goya products in the grocery store? How about that? How about that for information? Okay. Marie de next time you see a Spanish person, right, want to kind of speak Spanish and kind of chuckle at you like they making fun of you, tell them, brother, you come from me, not the other way around. You got Negro in your ancestry, so stop the madness. All right. Juan Latino Negro ex-slave was one of Europe's great Latin scholars and poets. From servitude in the household of Duke de Sesa, he became tutor to children and nobility in 1565. Right. So that's then you got Lorenzo de Torres. Okay. I'm going to show you this picture here, this image, and I'm going to kind of try to wrap it up here. Let's flip this around. Okay. Negroes in Spain. It says, left Duchess of Alba with her Negro favorite, Maria de la Louise by Goya. Right, Maria Marlin, guitarist and singer, favorite of Queen Isabella in the 1850s. Okay, very good. Let's flip this back around. Offspring of these Moors and West Africans were among the discoveries of the New World and the first builders of Latin America. Did you know that? As De Leeuw says, in that century, when the Portuguese acquired African possessions, they had already much colored blood in their veins. At first, the colored blood came from Portugal in dribbles, and later it actually became a flood. Some of the whites and many of the Iberian, Gothic, Arabian Negro offspring were okay. The dark-skinned girls of Cadiz, their raven hair adorned with their single rose, of whom Byron wrote so eschatologically in Chaldee, Harold's pilgrimage, undoubtedly owed much of their beauty to the mixture of African blood. Their copiers may be found in Latin America today. Dark skin soften the glare of the white one to produce a complexion of matchless beauty. The most recent importation of Negroes into Spain are those in the army of General Franco. One of his prize cavalry battalions is made up of coal-black Moors. They find mates among the Spanish women, precisely as did the Moors in Tariq in 1711. So that's the end of that. Okay. All right. That's the end of that. So now I want to close you with this here, right? Okay. So we showed you how there was a connection with the Israelites who dominated Europe and how they got there from a scriptural perspective. Now I want to read this couple passages here to show you the what this future holds for the Israelites scattered to the four corners. So in Psalm 72 and 10, let's pull it up real quick. Psalm 72 and 10, and then I'm going to go to Isaiah 60 and 9 and Isaiah 66 and 19, right? We're going to wrap it up there. All right. So let's go to Psalm 72 and 10. Psalm 72 and 10. Okay. The kings, let's go back here. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. Where do we see that at? Let me go back here first. In his days shall the righteous flourish. Let me back up. Okay, I got to back up. Give the king thy judgments, O Yah, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness and the poor with judgment, right? The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor, right? I like that one there, right? Boom. They shall fear thee as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations. That hasn't happened yet, right? He shall come down like rain upon the mowed grass and showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, and abundance of peace so long as the moon endureth. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea and from river unto ends of the earth. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. How about that? The kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba and Seba shall offer gifts. Yes, all kings shall fall down before him. All nations shall serve him. Right? So now, I mentioned this right here. He said, they shall lick the dust. What verse was that? Verse 9. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. Right? So that's in Isaiah, right? It said, they shall lick the dust off their feet. All right, so we're going to go to Isaiah 60, right? So go to Yoshiyahu or Isaiah 60, right? And we're going to read Isaiah 60 and verse 9, right? Before I do that, I want to see where that verse says about the dust off the feet. That's 49. That's 49. I don't have that. I don't have that verse, but let's just read it, okay? So he says, thus says Yah, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles and set my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face to the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am Yah, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Right? Now, so Isaiah 69, so that's good. That's companion to it in Psalm 72. So Isaiah 69 says the following, right? So Isaiah 69, it says, surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of who? See, he calls them ships of Tarshish, right? First, he called them the ships of Chittim. So we see that the ships of Chittim graduated to be called the ships of Tarshish, or the Spanish ships, right? So the ships of Tarshish, first to bring thy sons from far, their silver and gold with them, unto the name of Yah and the Kodesh one of Israel, because he hath esteemed thee. And the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Right. Therefore the gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yes, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Right? Okay. Now let's close with this here. Let's go to 66. 66 books. Isaiah 66. And we'll go to verse 19. 66 and 19. All right. He says, let's start at 15. For behold, Yah will come with fire and with chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger and fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by sword will Yah plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yah shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, says Yah. That's going to happen in the kingdom age, right? People say they're not going to die during the kingdom age. We just read it right there. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my kabod. And I will set a sign. Here's a sign among them. I will send those that escape them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, Lud, that draw the bow, Tubal, Yavon, to the isles far off that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my kabod, and they shall declare my kabod among the Gentiles, right? And they're going to do what? And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering, right? Unto Yah, out of all the nations. What? Wait a minute. Out of where? Out of all the nations, they're going to bring your brethren for an offering upon Yah, unto Yah, out of all the nations. Out of all the nations.
Am I right?
Out of all the nations, not just North America, not just South America, not just the Caribbean islands of West Indies, but all the nations, right? Upon horses, right? And chariots, right? Horses. So there's going to be somebody that's going to be close enough to be able to be taken in a horse. Wait, you can't get to Israel from North America in a horse. Okay? So that means there's going to be some Israelites that's over there that's going to be able to be transported on a horse or a camel. He said, you shall, man, this is good stuff here. They shall bring from all nations upon horses and chariots and in leaders. Okay? This is leaders. It says establish a planogrin or canopy, a fixture, also species of lizards. Okay? So that could fit a lot of things that the leaders, right? And upon mules and upon swift beasts, right? It's all of that. So we coming from all angles, some far and some near. Okay. And he says, upon mules, swift beasts, to my Kodesh mountain, Jerusalem, says Yah, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yah. Okay. Brothers and sisters. So as I close, we have to stop the madness with this hate-filled doctrine, because what you think you know, you just might not know. You think everybody black is an Israelite, when some of the black ones might be Edomites, Ishmaelites, Moabites, Ammonites, Canaanites, Egyptians, right? Hamites, right?
That's the truth and the truth straight way.
So it's time for us to get our hearts right, right? Look in. Ask Yah, search my heart. And not only that, but allow me to examine myself to see we're approaching the Pesach, right? We want to get all the leaven out of us. We want to do right by Yah, right? Stop all this hate-filled racist prejudice and learn how to love Yah with all our heart and love our neighbor. As the sister said to me, some people don't know how to love themselves. So we need Yah to teach us how to love myself so I can love my neighbor as I love myself. If I don't love myself, I can't love my neighbor like I love myself because I don't even like myself, right? So my prayer is that, Father, help us to learn who we are. And if we got issues that are right, that are not right with us, for us to have it groomed out of us so that we can like ourselves first and then learn to love ourselves, and then we can love other people in the process. So that's all I have for today, brothers and sisters. I pray for you got something out of this. And if anybody wants to come and chat with me briefly, I'm going to go ahead and close out the session, and I'll keep the line open. If not, then we'll just see you all again at the appointed time. All right. So with that said, I want to thank you for your time that you share with us on this live stream. Those that will come later on and those that will not come, and keep the covenant of Yah. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and please like the video, right? And so that it can get into the algorithm so that other people can come and join us on this live stream for the time being that we're here until the Most High moves us into another direction. But at the present time, we're here and we're going to be here on our post until the Most High says differently, right? So with that said, brothers and sisters, may the peace of Yah pass all comprehension, keep your hearts and minds through Yahshua the Messiah. To meet again at the appointed time, we say hallelujah, 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 Torah, Shabbat. Okay, if anybody's here want to chat with me, here's the hold on a second. Let's try that again. If anybody wants to chat with me, here's the link. You can click the link. If you have a question, comment, or you just want to just greet the people, click that link. I'll bring you in, give you opportunity to come on the stream. So this is the opportunity. A lot of people always say, well, they have questions and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity. If you have a question, need clarity on something, or if you want to challenge something that I taught that you disagree with, and you got receipts that speak otherwise, I'll hear what you got to say. And if you what you have to say uh, holds any weight to it, I'm governed by truth, right? I'm not governed to be right, but governed by truth. Truth supersedes lies and falsehood. So if you're here, let's see, I got 17 people still tuned in. So of the 17, if you're here and you want to you have a question or comment or just want to greet the people, just click that link there. My little bald head is cold. Let me see if this hat. I had this hat in my pocket. Let's see if it works. I know it works, but little wrinkle. uh Temperature dropped. I had my heat off. It was hot earlier, and I turned the heat off, and now I'm cooling. I'm cooling down a little bit. So if you're here and you want to come in and chat with me, feel free to click on this link here. I'll bring you in. And if you got a question, like I said, once again, if you got a question or anything, just come on, I'll bring you in. So I'm going to hold out I'll do 5 minutes this time. I'll hold out for 5 minutes. So I got right now is 12:49 my time. So 12:40. So 12:55, 54. I'm gonna close down. So if nobody wants to come, I will close it down at that time. Okay. My keyboard's still hooked up. There's a song that anybody that can play that can't play the piano can play this song right here. I used to hear people in the music store. They was playing something. I can play. Watch this. So, that one song you don't have to be able to play. You can follow the chords on that. You just follow the black keys, right? When I retire, I'm going to go back to my music channel